Okay, so just for clarification, this video was made back in 2017, back when I had an old series of videos that I no longer do that were revolving around Megami Tensei, so I called the video series something different that involved my dead name. Which, if you don't know what a dead name is, it's basically a name that you no longer go by, in my case because I'm trans. So in an effort to reduce public knowledge of what my name used to be, I took down a lot of my old videos. But some of them are actually really good, like the video I'm about to show today. So I decided to re-upload them and maybe try to censor or phase out my old name. I mean, it's out there. I just, for the sake of my own sanity, I'd like to reduce the knowledge as much as possible. But regardless, here is my completely unedited original video covering Innsmouth no Yakata. Full exposure here, I'm playing this on an emulator. And that's how I can get the footage. With a game like this though, an emulator is almost needed. Innsmouth no Yakata is a Virtual Boy game that is so rare. I found a listing on eBay for almost 1,400 cold hard USD. Yeah, no thank you. The last time I checked, I only had enough money to buy a sandwich, so I think that might be out of my price range. Oh well, emulators work better anyway, with, capturing footage and not making your eyes bleed. Let's get into the game, shall we? It seems to be like a trend with the games I pick, but shocker, there's little to no actual history on this game. I assume that it's based off The Shadow over Innsmouth by H.P. Lovecraft. A story about a man who goes to a small town where, typical Lovecraftian fare, weird shit goes down, cults happen, and then we have subterranean, godlike fish monsters. Now, with base material like that, you would assume that Innsmouth no Yakata would have a pretty strong base. Well, I lied. It's not entirely based off The Shadow over Innsmouth, but instead it's based off a Japanese television movie named Innsmouth wo Okaga. Now that show is something interesting. That was the first 10 seconds of the special, ladies and gentlemen, everyone else. I wish I was shitting you. Today, I'm reviewing a game based off that. The game is still more or less based off the end chase scene. All things considered, I'd say give the movie a watch too. The acting is alright, and the effects are pretty cool, when they're not being silly. Almost everywhere I look, this game is listed as a first-person shooter, and I don't really think it fits that well. It's more like a prototype VR horror game. But that's not really listing anywhere, so playing this on an actual Virtual Boy headset would have actually skeeved me out of it. Not only that, but the game employs a clunky gun mechanic, which is probably where most people got the shooter part from. But this game functions very poorly as a shooter. Like I said, the controls are stiff and clunky. You'd be lucky if you even got one good shot off on a disgusting creature. By the end, I got pretty good at it though. But things were so powerful that it would take an entire round to kill them. And like any good horror game, ammo is rare. After you use the one spare round you start with, you'll have to find more just laying around anywhere in the mansion. Kind of a bad idea on the disgusting fish monster part, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I wouldn't leave gun rounds laying on the floor for my enemy. The main objective for each level is finding the keys to the next floor and finding the door before the time runs out. Along the quest to find the key, you'll have a chance to find a dark orb and a light orb. The light orbs reveal the items in the map, while the dark orb just uncovers the map in general. I have no idea if these affect the outcome of the story, or if it's just to make your life easier. All I know is that the deeper you get into the game, the more grows the abominations. Everything from this game oozes gross style. I fell in love with it as soon as I hit the title screen. Look at this thing! It's so gross! I love it! The monsters are pretty great too. The designs are super unnerving. You get the basic monsters at the beginning of the game. It looks like they crawled out of Fox and Nadu. Then you get these bipedal creatures that look... But later on, we see creatures that have that trademarked Innsmouth look, with buggy eyes, disjointed teeth, rolls. You can tell that sort of just swapped faces to cut down on work time and maybe save on space, but it's still a nice effort. Near the end of the game, I couldn't even tell you what the hell this thing is supposed to be. I don't even think I want to know either. Thinking about it now, it would have been cool if, like, Dagon himself came and tried to stop you, but hey, I'm just letting my mind wander. I probably shouldn't do that. Oh, the other thing I don't like about this game, at least style-wise, are the walls. My god, I'm at the point where I'm critiquing walls. They're all exactly the same, and it kind of makes things disorienting. As some of you may know, I'm an avid Megami Tensei player, and this game is honestly giving me early Megami Tensei vibes with being in first person and having that sort of faux 3D sort of style. But this does it poorly. I mean, here I just tried to leave this hall that I'm in, but I ended up just getting confused and walking up and down on an internal loop forever and ever and ever because I can't figure out what I'm supposed to fucking do! Seriously, when I first started playing, I was raging because 1, I kept going in a perpetual loop up and down a hallway, and 2, I couldn't get my gun to work. But I did though. And from there, I tore ass through this game. For my footage, I spent 6 minutes trying to figure out everything, and from there I was able to beat the game in a little over 30 minutes. The thing that adds replay value though, are the multiple endings you can achieve. One of which that I achieved actually remains faithful to the base story. Well, sorta. Spoiler alert for like an 80-year-old short story. He becomes a deep one, or the fish monsters that have been chasing you throughout the game. This is where the game shines. It creates a genuine sense of tension in every level. The deeper you go into the manor, the deeper you go into your own insanity. It doesn't matter which end you get, because in the end, you're a servant of Dagon no matter what. Innsmouth may not be friendly to strangers, but when you're a local, you can't leave. Playing it normally, I was locked into B and C endings. I don't know if picking the orbs or how fast you complete the levels have anything to do with it, but I'm not really too torn about it. Just would've been nice to know. Innsmouth no Yakata may not be the best game on the Virtual Boy, but it was honestly an amazing effort on the part of the creators to make such an intense game for a dying console. It's kind of obvious to see why this wasn't released outside of Japan, with the disturbing imagery and the failure of the Virtual Boy and such, but this is one of those rare games that isn't really harmed that much by the language barrier. Almost all the text in here is actually in English, and the only Japanese that really comes up is the title screen and the end credits. So unless you really want to know who made this game, a translation isn't really necessary. So give this game a play if you're into the Virtual Boy or want to see something kind of sort of inspired by Lovecraft, but not really. Who knows, maybe you're just into the late 1990s Japanese TV horror scene. I don't know. I won't judge. You know, with the resurgence of VR, it probably would be cool to like see a remake of this game, but it's so fucking obscure. I doubt that would ever happen, but hey, I can dream. Okay, hi, Future Nikki again. So I was doing some research for the remake of this video, which is probably a long way off, but I did find out that there is an actual translation. I haven't tried it yet, but it looks pretty good for what it is. I just thought it'd be pretty interesting to note.